Here we will have a short explanation of the little entrance, the preparation, the little entrance itself, and the censing at a hierarchical service. Currently we are starting from footage from St. Petersburg, and as you saw, the first deacon, the proto-deacon, just ascended the Anvan for the little litany. He's not doing it. There is a second deacon who's doing it, so the junior deacon would be taking it at this point. However, everybody is now, all the deacons and servers should be up on the Anvan, praying during this little litany, waiting for the exclamation, in which they will bow and turn into the altar, and they get ready for the little entrance. Here you can see the servers getting in formation. Second deacon or junior deacon is now finishing his litany. They're all bowing. You notice the priest joins them in their bow to the hierarch as they get a blessing to now enter into the sanctuary to prepare for the little entrance. Also, just to note that if there's only one deacon serving, he's up there for the entire time for the great litany, comes down for the washing of the hands, goes back to the top there, and then does the second and third litanies, which are the two little litanies. As the deacons enter the altar, the servers are getting ready for the little entrance. The deacons make their bows as they return to the altar. You want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to get out to the center of the church and set up the procession and get established once you are in the center of the church. As you see very early in the third antiphon, the first priest comes to the altar, does his bows with the proto-deacon, hands off the gospel. Clergy then venerate the altar, and then the servers now get into formation as they go to head out to the center of the church for the little entrance. Here the servers are now coming out of the altar with the clergy. We have the candle, the staff, the censers. We have deacon, the gospel trikity. There's no fans here in this, but if there were fans, they would be on each side of the gospel. See in this style that the clergy split up on top of the anvon to get to their spots. The rest of the servers go around the bishop. Here everyone, once they get into position, they all bow towards the east, the altar, and then to the bishop. The gospel is presented to him. He is then handed the deacon trikity. And as you notice here, the deacons start sensing the gospel. Again, if there were fans, they would be on either side of the gospel. The clergy then start singing, "Come Let Us Worship." You notice that the deacons with the censer then go closer to the hierarch and sense him while they're blessing. So first sensing the gospel, and then when the hierarch starts blessing, they move to sense him, and then when he turns, they now sense the gospel again. And as the bishop is continuing and finishing the four blessings, the servers head into the altar. The hierarch is now on top of the anvon here. As you see, the proto-deacon now comes out and takes the trikity. The hierarch venerates the icon of Christ and the Mother of God, and heads into the altar, venerates the altar table. Serving clergy also venerate the icon of Christ or the Mother of God, depending on what side they're on. As you see, the censer is now handed to the hierarch, and he starts sensing the altar with the proto-deacon on the opposite side. At this point, the clergy are singing, "Come Let Us Worship." At that second part, the hierarch proto-deacon go around censing the altar. Here we have the proto-deacon coming out of the altar now. He's going to turn, stand on the right side by Christ as the hierarch comes out. We see now the serving clergy have venerated the altar table and are now facing west, where the hierarch is censing. The two subdeacons are standing in the royal doors. Normally there's not enough room for that, and I believe this is just a custom at this cathedral. Normally the subdeacons would be at the high place at this point. We see how the proto-deacon leads the hierarch to the icons. Then as he goes to sense the faithful, he now stands in front of the icon of Christ. Timing's important here. You'll notice that the proto-deacon heads in the altar when the hierarch turns and senses the icon of the Mother of God, hands off the trikiti. The bishop then hands off the deacon to the server. The servers with the candles now head up to the high place. The proto-deacon grabs the censer from the hierarch and censes him 9 times. In this case, it's taking place at the side of the altar. Normally this would be done at the high place, but given the size of the sanctuary, the timing would be thrown off a bit. So timing and placement is very important. But in general, the censing of the hierarch would be done at the high place, and then the deacon and the servers then complete their bows at the end of the censing of the hierarch of 9 times.